Hey, it's Pharaoh, and before we get started, think about subscribing and hitting the like button. In today's video, I want to talk about how do Soot powers work in the Shadow House universe. Like most anime and manga that have powers involved, there's always a power system, whether that be ki, chakra, or nen. But in the Shadow House universe, it's powered by Soot. And Soot powers come in two different flavors, physical and mental. Physical is what gives you brute strength or the ability to hurl Soot objects, like what John has. And mental is what Louise has, where she has the ability to manipulate people's emotions. This means that the stronger that your Soot power is, the less range that it'll have. The weaker your Soot power is, the more range that it'll have. You could see this as an example of when the kids are training. You could see that John has a maximum range that's very short, but somebody like Kate has a little bit further range because her power isn't as strong as what John is. This means once your Soot powers are at their maximum effective range, your Soot powers will dissipate and no longer have an effect. This is important to realize because if you don't know your maximum effective range for your Soot powers, you could be left on bad intel thinking that your Soot powers are working when they're really not. And this leads into another important point. Everyone has a different Soot power and everybody has a different Soot capacity. There are some people that have very large Soot capacities, just like Barbara, who has the ability to let off so much Soot that it's unseen. And there are people that have lower Soot capacities, like what Ram and Shirley had because they didn't create a connection, and we'll touch on that a little bit later. This is important because there's actually a limit to how much Soot they can use per day, and without realizing this knowledge, they could be left without the ability to use their Soot powers and be defenseless. But knowing all this, you might wonder, how do shadows actually get their Soot powers? This is all done through a process from when they are very first created. Shadows initially are morphs, which are very small shadows that don't have a personality or anything and just made to imitate. Once they imitate their host, which is known as their face or their living doll, this is when they start to create a connection. Once they have a connection with their living doll or face, this is when they have the ability for their shadow powers to be awakened. If they don't complete this step and create an established connection, they will be left without powers and they will wither away. This is what we thought would happen to Shirley and Ram. As I mentioned earlier, everybody has a unique Soot power, and there's a couple that stand out to me that I think are really cool. Ed's Soot ability, where he has the power to manipulate sound, is really unique, as you don't really get to see sound powers used too often, and I think it's used in a tasteful way. Then we have an unnamed female shadow that actually has the ability to craft a crow out of her Soot, speak into it, giving it a message, and when it arrives at its destination, it splats into whatever the message is. I think it's a really cool idea because it's basically a messenger pigeon, but with a unique twist on it. And she actually has the ability to send another crow where people could speak into that crow, and when it comes back, it'll do the same exact thing. And I think that's really cool. There's a whole bunch of other powers that are utilized within the Shadow House universe, and I hope that we get to see more, as well as I hope that we get to see Soot powers have the ability to be awakened even further than their first initial state as we first see them. With that though, if you made it this far into the video, drop a like and subscribe for more content. If you have any questions, manga or anime recommendations, or anything that you find of interest, drop it in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you in the next video. Deuces!